I remember I went to a 50 feet mud volcano and I floated in that mud volcano with my 7-month belly. I felt my baby's first kick while I was swimming in a cenote in Mexico.
You are a mom and a travel content creator.
Yes.
Which is a very unique combination. How do you manage both the worlds?
I don't adapt to my baby's lifestyle. She adapts to my lifestyle instead.
Which is that one trip which just changed your perspective towards life?
Remember the movie King Kong? You
Yeah.
see mountain gorillas that are huge, like huge. Now, while you're going up, you have these forest rangers who follow you with AK-47 rifles because in case the animals get... And if you're lucky, you get to see one mountain gorilla.
As a solo woman traveler, what are the things in mind one should keep?
I have been robbed once in Spain, in Madrid, and it was a terrible experience.
Certain budget-friendly tools or budget-friendly apps which can make travel more economical.
Now, there are a lot of apps, so I use...
Hi Anindita, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute honor.
Now you have a thriving career in travel, but let's start from the very beginning when traveling was not a career option. Tell me what inspired your love for travel. Was there a particular trip or a moment that hooked you on to traveling and exploring the world?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think I owe it all to my parents. Being born into a Bengali family, I was traveling since I was 4 years old. And yearly vacations, of course, was a must-do thing then. And we used to love it as a family. So I think I've got the genes, the travel genes in me from my parents. And, I've always been up to some mischief or the other when I was very young. Always up to exploring something. Today, of course, my adventures have taken me all around the world. But I was always called a live wire since I was 4. So thanks to all my travels, the word cannot does not exist in my dictionary. And I'm all about doing crazy experiences around the world. And I guess that's how the entire travel bug bit me.
That's amazing. And one of the, I wouldn't say crazy, but a brave step you took was leaving your corporate job.
Yes.
So before you became a travel content creator, you were in a corporate setup. Please tell us something about that.
Oh, that was a great phase of my life as well. I was in the corporate life for around 17 years.
Wow.
I am an engineer and an MBA, and I have worked in HUL for 9 years. I've done marketing for brands like Dove and Pears. Then I used to work in Welspun, and then my last stint in the corporate life was in Rent to Kill PCI, where I was the chief marketing officer. So 17 years of that, it was absolutely brilliant, has taught me a lot. In fact, that has built the foundation for marketing, and that also helps me in making Travel Chatter grow the way it is. So I totally owe it to my corporate life. And I quit my corporate life because my husband and I were supposed to move to New York just before COVID. So that's how it all began. And it was just an Instagram page where I would post when I want to. But then once I quit my job, I would work on it pretty much 25 hours out of 24, if that's possible. I gave it my all. And that's how Travel Chat has reached where it is.
That's amazing. And we are going to come back to the business part of being a travel content creator. First, I want to know if this is true, that during your pregnancy, when you were 7 months pregnant, you traveled to 4 countries.
Yes.
That was your last trimester. And why I'm getting oh my God reaction, because I know the last trimester is a tough one. And I could barely travel from my bedroom to the living room. And you have traveled 4 countries. Tell me, how was the experience?
Oh, it was epic. I think it was the best pregnancy I could have ever asked for. See, I had been very clear from the beginning that, we all know a happy mom raises a happy child.
Absolutely.
And only if I have a happy pregnancy will I really be looking forward to becoming a mom. Now, I got pregnant at 40 and I was very clear that, nothing can make my pregnancy not the way I want it to be. So it has to be epic. I have to do something I love, and which is traveling. So, of course, I had to take all the precautions. I went and asked my gynac. Given I was 40, of course, people had thought there would be complications. Luckily, there was not any. And I tell everybody, as long as your gynac gives you a go-ahead, you can just do whatever you want. There's a
True.
myth here that pregnant women can't travel. They need to just be home and, don't do anything other than watching movies and going to restaurants. Why? I mean, I think that's a beautiful phase of life and you need to make the most of it. So then I told my husband that, we can't go to Nasik for my baby moon because that time there was still COVID. COVID wasn't fully over yet.
Okay.
So, which is why I remember we had gone to Atmantan in Nasik and my husband was joking and he was like, this is your baby moon. I'm like, no way. My baby moon has to be some exotic destination. Yeah. And I had already done 69 countries then. I was like, a 70th country to hit karna hi hai before having the baby. Yeah. So luckily flights to Mexico opened up. So we did Mexico, Colombia, Aruba and Curacao. I celebrated my 40th birthday in the island of Curacao.
Wow.
I felt my baby's first kick while I was swimming in a cenote in Mexico, which is an underground river. So, I mean, that's going to be a story I'll want to tell my grandchildren as well. But so I absolutely ensured I make the most of the pregnancy.
You definitely did.
Yes.
And out of all these 4 countries, which one was your favorite?
Oh, Mexico, for sure.
Yeah.
And we were in Mexico for 2 weeks. And like I said, because it was pretty much during COVID, like it was the end of COVID, but there were not too many people, and obviously we wouldn't go party and stuff, but all the sightseeing places were like not that crowded. The touristy spots were absolutely empty. So we had a blast. Even in Colombia, this is a country we went to right after Mexico. I remember I went to a 50-feet mud volcano and I floated in that mud volcano with my 7-month belly. Wow. And everybody around me was, wow, like they had that hats off to you kind of a look. But I thoroughly enjoyed it.
So you are a mom. Yes. And a travel content creator.
Yes.
Which is a very unique combination. How do you manage both the worlds? Because they both are very demanding.
Absolutely. I mean, I won't say it's not challenging. It is extremely challenging. But by now, I think I've mastered the art of traveling with a toddler. Of course, the first few trips were extremely daunting. And I was like, no, I don't think I can do it. But I knew that was the only way I can travel. See, there's one thing that I've been very clear. I would like to tell all the moms out there that only if you follow your dreams will your child grow up to follow her dreams. Unless I prioritize myself, my child will never prioritize herself when she grows up. And that's the example I want to set. I want to show her that motherhood is not the end of my passion, of my dreams. I mean, I think your dreams only become bigger once you become a mother. They don't end. And that's exactly what I was set out to do. I was very clear that I don't adapt to my baby's lifestyle. She adapts to my lifestyle instead. And that's how I took off with her when she was 2 months old. Of course, first we did a few trips in India. And when I travel in India, I always take the nanny along because when I have the help, then why not? But of course, abroad, I have never taken my nanny because she doesn't have a passport, unfortunately. But it's been amazing. My first trip with her was when she was 6 months old. We went to the Canary Islands in Spain.
Wow.
And my husband was in New York for work, so he flew directly to Spain. So I did that 14 hours flight because it was with a layover, 14 hours flight to Spain all by myself with a 6-month-old.
Wow.
I mean, obviously I was so tense to start with, but trust me, by the time I came back after 2 weeks, I felt like a super mom. I was like, if I could do this, I can do anything.
And I believe when your daughter turned 1, she had already visited 10 countries?
Yes. 10 countries.
That's amazing. So does your daughter also loves traveling like her mom?
Yeah, absolutely. Whenever she knows she has to get onto an airplane, she's overexcited. And I guess with them, whatever you expose them to, I mean, I think it will shape her personality. Like a lot of people tell me right now, why are you traveling with her so much? She's so young. She won't remember. I'm like, it doesn't matter. I will remember. It's not about her. It's about making the most of my motherhood, about me enjoying with my daughter as much as I can, as long as I can. Because you know better than me, after a while, they're all about their friends and their school and they don't have time. So right now, when I don't have that mom guilt where I'm not making her bunk school, I'm just taking her with me wherever I want to go. And another big reason is before 2, all international tickets are free.
I like that.
Yeah, so till they are 2, you don't have to pay anything except for taxes. You don't have to pay anything for international tickets. So I made the most of it. And today she's been to 31 countries and she's only 3 years old.
Wow, that's amazing. And I knew I'm going to get some really golden tips from you, like the one I got right now. I can use this for Heather. He still has
6 more months to go.
Yeah, 6 more months to go before he turns 2.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Noted.
I mean, all the moms out there, travel as much as you can till they are 2. Best part. And I think the best time to travel with them is when they don't walk. The moment they start walking, you have to keep running after them, feeding them, and it's a nightmare after that. I mean, obviously, there are days where you're like, oh my God, I tell myself, how do I do it? But then, I give a big pat on my back that I managed to do it.
But planning a trip with a child requires, a lot of do's and don'ts.
Yeah.
That's
absolutely.
what I feel. Correct me if I'm wrong. Do you have any pointers, or do you have a checklist which you follow when you are traveling with your daughter?
Oh, yes, a lot of them actually. I think travel changes a lot when you have kids. So, like I said, before I had her, I'd been to 72 countries and now I've been to 99 countries. So, my travel has completely changed. The first thing is you need to start embracing slow travel. You cannot have an overpacked schedule. So, when I used to travel solo or with my husband, we would be like, okay, today we are going to do these 7 or 8 things in the day. You can't. When you're traveling with a child, you can only do 3 to 4 things.
Absolutely.
And you have to be happy with it. If you're going to go keep cribbing, "Arey, main yahan gayi par ye sab nahi kiya," then it doesn't work. You have to embrace slow travel, and you have to be very clear that your sightseeing has to end before your baby is overstimulated. Yeah, you have to keep taking breaks. I think one of the best ways to travel with a child is rent a car, whichever country you are in. Even in India, try and rent a car, because then you are doing things at your own pace. When the child needs a break, you take a break. If the child needs an afternoon nap, like maybe a 1 hour nap, you can go back to your hotel, make sure the child gets a good nap, they're refreshed, and get out sightseeing again. Jet lag is again a very big part of your trip, especially if it's an international trip. So your first 2 days have to be very slow, very easy. Do not plan anything. First 2 days, just go with the flow, go with the child's flow, whatever they want to do. Another thing is, we moms fret a lot when the child doesn't eat. But I have seen that, usually when we go to the US, and we go to the US a lot because of my husband's work, the first 3-4 days, she will not sleep well, she will not eat well. But it's just the first 3-4 days. If you can survive that, then it's absolutely awesome. So we moms, I think the biggest tip is we have to learn to be calm. A lot of times, because we are not calm, the child gets stressed out.
Correct.
Because we are stressing out about them not eating, they won't eat. On flights specifically, I've seen this, that if you are not calm, you can never ever calm the child. So very important for the mother to stay calm and have lots of patience.
I guess that vibe transfers to the child. They somehow sense it that, my parents are getting very worried, and I guess then they just follow that emotion.
Absolutely. To give you an example, right now, before coming for this podcast, my daughter knew I have to go somewhere. I was trying to put her to sleep, and I'm looking at the clock. It's 2:20. I have to get ready and I have to leave. And I guess she just knew it, probably because my heart was beating fast or whatever. I was nursing her and trying to put her to sleep. She just would not sleep because she knew that there's something on.
Like I said, they sense the vibe. Okay, you gave us tips what to do on the trip. Tell me, is there a checklist when you're deciding the destination when you have to travel with your daughter? Like certain things you keep in mind that, all this needs to be done, and that's how you narrow down on a destination.
Yeah. So, earlier I had a list of destinations that I want to go to. So it's not that I want to cover all the countries in the world, but I have a certain list of places I want to check. Right? So I visit those places. But now when I'm traveling with my daughter, I'll try and ensure there are some kid-friendly things as well.
Okay.
So for example, Egypt. Okay. Egypt doesn't have too many kid-friendly things to do. It's historic, great history, great architecture, etc. But for kids, I won't say it's that kid-friendly. But a place like a Singapore or New York or London or any place in Europe has so many things for kids to do. I mean, you're spoiled for choice. So now when I pick up destinations, it'll be a mix of both. So I won't say just be for kids. But for example, if I go to Japan, I know Japan has a lot to do for me and it has a lot to do for her. I mean, it has Disneyland. Paris has Disneyland. Hong Kong has Disneyland. And of course, US. So I'll always ensure that there are fun things for me and my husband to do. Or if I'm traveling solo, then for me as well. And there'll be days where I'll just dedicate to her and we'll go to a nice park or a nice kid-friendly place or like a color factory or like a slime factory and places like that where she's going to have a great time as well.
Which is that one trip which just changed your perspective towards life?
I wouldn't say there's one trip, so I would probably name a few. One of my favorite destinations was Iceland. So I went to Iceland way back again in 2009 when people used to hardly go. It was only after Shah Rukh Khan's that Gerua song that a lot of Indian tourists started going to Iceland. But when I went, it was hardly visited. And I think the things that I saw in Iceland, like whatever I've studied in my geography books, like a geyser, a volcano, a actual volcano erupting, glaciers, and walking inside a lava tube. So Iceland feels like it's a different planet. It
Okay.
is so unique. Then another trip that I had done was a solo trip to Argentina, where I trekked a glacier solo. So it was called the Perito Moreno Glacier, which is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life. Now, trekking that glacier solo was really, really mind blowing. I had never thought I'd be able to do it alone, but I did it.
So what changed in you after that?
I feel, when I come back from such trips, especially if they are solo trips, I feel like I said, I feel so alive. I feel like I'm fearless. My risk appetite goes up, and you are obviously much more responsible about yourself. And at the same time, it just makes you learn so much about the world around you. Another trip which I must mention is I went for a trek in the forest of Uganda, okay, where I went to see gorillas. Now, remember the movie King Kong? You see mountain gorillas that are huge, like huge.
You have seen those?
I have had them in front of me. So, and this again was definitely a life-changing trip, because when we went first, the trek was really hard. It was almost a 3 hours hike in the jungles of Uganda. And if you're lucky, you get to see one mountain gorilla. Now, while you're going up, you have these forest rangers who follow you with AK-47 rifles, because in case the animals get, aggressive, then they need it. So you're escorted by these men. And now when we went on top, we were so lucky. We saw 7 mountain gorillas.
Wow.
And I had a baby gorilla that came right up to me and played with my shoelaces. So, when you go there, you're supposed to keep some distance from the gorillas, because they can attack you, because obviously they are unpredictable. So you're supposed to keep a 20 feet distance from them at all times. Now this baby gorilla just walked up to me and pulled my shoelaces. And I was like, you won't believe there was a time I had an eye to eye with that baby gorilla. It was like the baby gorilla is inviting me to come and play. It was the most awesome thing. Like, I did this in 2016, but I remember it so, so well. Now, the moment this happened, the forest ranger pulled me back, because since the baby gorilla came to me, the mother gorilla can attack, right? Because they don't know, she doesn't know what's happening. But that few seconds that I had with the baby gorilla eye to eye was so, so heartwarming. When I was driving back from that trip to the city of whichever city we were staying in, I wrote my very first blog. So that is when Travel Chatter happened. I was like, I can't not share my experience with the rest of the world. I mean, the world needs to know how beautiful places around are and how accessible they are. See, not that now I also have my budget travel hacks, right? It's not that I mint money that I've traveled to 99 countries. You just need to travel smart. And I was very clear that, if I empower people to travel as much as I do, the way I do, then a lot of people who actually are dying to see more of the world will be able to. And there's just so much there to see. There's so much to learn. That is how Travel Chatter started. So
that trip was a milestone, basically.
Absolutely. Absolutely. My very first blog. So I still have a website called travelchatter.in. My very first blog was on those gorillas.
Wow. And when you have such experiences while traveling, you want your kids also to have these experiences. But again, we go back to a feeling that most of the mothers have, including me. We want to explore the world. We want our kids to explore the world. But, it's just very difficult to manage kids. That's what we think. Please give us some advice how we can calm this feeling down, and how we can, look forward and plan trips with kids, with that much excitement, जिस excitement से हम लोग अपने solo और couple trips plan करते हैं.
But I think the excitement is very different. The solo and couple trips, again, are absolutely different. As much as I love traveling with her, I totally cherish traveling just with my husband. So by now, we've done at least 5 trips without her. And now we are planning Antarctica next, which is also going to be without her.
Which is, I believe, your 100th country.
It's my 100th country.
That's a milestone again.
I have saved Antarctica for my 100th country. So I'm like, अगर 100th country अभी November में होगा, I'm already at 99. But looks like the ship has sailed for Antarctica, like literally, because March is the last ship that sails. After that is November.
Okay.
तो ये पूरा साल मैं कोई भी नया country नहीं करने वाली हूँ.
Because you want the 100th one
to be Antarctica. Absolutely. So anyway, coming back to your question. So I think the only way to make it easy is to plan really well.
Okay.
So in terms of packing, okay. So one of the most important things that I do is in my bag, I will have a big portion of the bag dedicated just to her toys, but not just regular toys. carrying high value items. So when I say high value toys, I keep some toys which are just for her travels. I will not give it to her at home because then the novelty factor wears off. So I'll keep them only for my travels, maybe at restaurants, maybe outside, but I'll ensure that those are specifically her travel toys. And that also helps me a lot in flights. That is one thing. Then another thing would be, when I'm traveling, I will ensure that so when I'm traveling with a child, I'll try and stay in an Airbnb so that I have access to a kitchen. And I shouldn't have to eat out every day. So, with us moms, we are like, agar ek meal acha ho gaya, we are happy. So breakfast to ghar mein kha sakti hai, and that too homemade food. Like if I'm at an Airbnb, it takes like 2 minutes to make eggs. And if she's had her eggs and her breakfast is done, then I am a happy mom going out sightseeing. Then also, having said that, there are few vacations, like for example, this New Year's, my husband and I wanted to just do nothing, no sightseeing. So we booked a very nice luxury property in Sri Lanka, in Colombo, somewhere in Sri Lanka called Veligama. And we just stayed there. So when you book a good luxury hotel, make sure it has a kids club, because a kids club will have all the classes. Your kids are busy, you are busy. In the evening, you can just spend time in the swimming pool, go for a walk at the beach, play on the beach. So you have to plan really well. So there are certain countries you might want to keep 3 to 4 days for sightseeing and 2 to 3 days maybe just for relaxing, where you just book that really nice luxury property and just chill there, relax there with your baby and your husband. And the other days you go sightseeing. So you have to balance it out really well. Then, of course, there are things like, you have to travel light when you travel with a baby, while it is contradictory because you have a baby, but you have to figure out how to travel light, because when you're in Europe and US, you don't have people carrying your luggage around like you have in Asia, right? You have to do everything yourself. So travel light is a must. Wearing very comfortable shoes, because you are going to be walking and running behind that child all the time. And like I said, ensuring that the kid is not overstimulated, ensuring they get their naps on time, their meals are on time, and not fretting when they don't eat. If your nanny has a passport, take the nanny along. A lot of hotels actually have babysitters. So last year on New Year's, we were in Zimbabwe and Zambia. Again, an awesome trip where we flew over the Victoria Falls and we did a helicopter ride in the jungle and stuff. So really nice. But the hotel was so good. Again, it had a kids club and it had in-house nannies. Okay. So you could actually keep them in the creche or the kids club, and the nanny is taking care while you and your husband are in the property. So you're also having your time. You're having a good time together as a couple, and your baby is taken care of. So these are a few things that you have to keep in mind, depending on what you want while you're traveling with a child. Yeah.
All these tips definitely make the trip a lot more easier, I feel. I'm going to follow them next time.
Please do.
Yes. Now you mentioned a very, very important thing in these tips, which was packing. Okay. Now you have to give us tips on how to pack light, because as moms, again, we want everything accessible.
So I have a checklist. And in fact, I've also done a reel on this where a few of the things that you, like around 12 to 13 things that you must carry. And I don't think other than that checklist, you need to carry anything else with a child.
Okay.
So obviously you start with clothes. Now, we moms always want them to look really fancy and nice. So ek din ke liye 3 kapda leke jate hain. You don't need to, because wherever you go, you can wash your clothes. The hotel has laundry. The Airbnb, select an Airbnb with a washer and dryer. Or in a service apartment, everywhere you can wash clothes. So that's another big mistake that moms do. They carry so many clothes. I don't, So maybe I'll carry 2 changes for one day, because obviously khana to girta hi hai. And if I'm going for 5 days, I'll carry 10 clothes. Or clothes to itna sa, I don't know the clothes. Yes, when the weight could go up is when you're going to a cold place and you need to carry woolens. But then what I would recommend is carry a nice winter jacket. Jisme ek jacket is good enough. Instead of layering them up with so many layers, just invest and carry a really good brand winter jacket, which takes care of everything, right? And of course, there are a few other, like I said, a big part of the suitcase has to be toys, because that's the only way you're going to keep them busy. Another thing that is a must is a baby carrier or a stroller. Yes. So figure out a lightweight stroller. There are a lot of strollers out there in the market. Figure out what you can adapt to. Easy to fold, lightweight, and carry that. Again, of course, these strollers are pretty expensive, but you're investing in it for at least for 5 years, because till they are 5, they can use these strollers. A stroller is a must, because you obviously cannot keep carrying your baby around. Another epic trip of mine was when I was in Guatemala. So last year for my birthday, we were in Belize and Guatemala, and I hiked a volcano solo with my 2-year-old.
Okay? You are fab.
So my husband was working, and I was telling him, I don't think I can go to this volcano without you. And he's like, you're in Guatemala. You can't not go on a volcano. And okay, fine, I muster up the courage. And of course, a lot of credit goes to my husband because he really pushes me and he thinks I can do anything, like anything in this world. And now I believe so as well. So I hiked this volcano with her. Of course, half of it was on the horseback and then half of it was hiking, but I did it. And like I said, when I do these trips and I'm standing on top of the volcano, I'm like, oh my God, I can do anything. Like I said, the word cannot does not exist in my dictionary even now.
Okay, tell me, do you think that traveling changes the way kids see the world?
Oh, yes, completely.
Yeah.
So, even in terms of, like, I see a lot of kids her age because she goes to a preschool now. And I see a world of a difference between other kids and her. I think she's so adaptable. Okay, they become very adaptable. She makes friends wherever she goes. So that's one thing I don't have to bother about. Whenever we go to a good hotel or any hotel, she loves making friends with everybody. So even this New Year's or even last year New Year's when we were in Zimbabwe or before that we were in Australia, she will go anywhere. So whichever party we are at, she'll just make friends. And then my husband and I are happy because she is happy. So I think it goes a long way in terms of them learning to mix with different kinds of people, be a part of their traditions. So one time in one of the hotels, I remember there was a family which they were doing some kind of their New Year tradition on the table, and she went and joined them. And it was so heartwarming to see her being a part of that.
I guess they explore so many different cultures and so many different places, so many different people. Like you said, it just makes them more adaptable to situations.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So we spoke about how kids, learn and adapt with respect to travel. I'm sure you must have also learned many things because of travel.
Yeah.
If there was one thing you want to pass on that you learned from travel to your daughter, what would that be?
I would say, see, they say you have only one life. Okay, but I believe that if you live that one life right, then one life is enough. So what I would like to tell her is that, to just make the most of every single day and be happy in whatever she does.
Wow.
So for me, it's travel. Not necessarily she's going to love travel when she grows up. She might be passionate about something else. But it's all about making sure that you live life right the way you want to live it and not pay heed to what others say. Because people will talk, people will have 1,000 things to say, but not to be a people pleaser and just to ensure that you are happy and you know you are doing the right thing.
That's a beautiful message to pass on.
Thank
And I
you.
have to ask you this. Please share with us few kids-friendly destinations in India and abroad, because you have traveled so much and Kiara has traveled so much. So
Yeah.
we need this golden information from you.
Absolutely. In India, the very first place I had taken her was Kerala and Goa. And I think it was very, very nice. So Goa, of course, because there are good beaches and there's so much to do. And even Kerala, wherever we went, I think it was very, very kid-friendly in terms of the Airbnbs, the hotels, etc. that we stayed at. So for me, these two places are very special. But in terms of cities, I think places around Bangalore, places around Bombay, Delhi. So even around Delhi and Bombay, there are so many weekend getaways that you can go to. So specifically, if you're in these cities and you are planning to travel for the first time with your child, and obviously people are very skeptical to travel, try the weekend getaways. First, see how the baby is adapting to weekend getaways. Then try out another city in the country, take a short flight, and then go abroad. And abroad, of course, start with trips which are close by. So, for example, Singapore is one of my favorites. There is so much to do for kids. Dubai has so much to do for kids. And again, they're very short flights, right? So, if you are starting out for the first time, Dubai and Singapore are great to start with. And of course, in terms of abroad, my favorite is New York. I think New York, the moment you step out of your house, you are literally spoiled for choice because the parks there are so beautiful. Like you go out and you don't know कि कौन से park में जाऊँ आज और ये एक park में you can spend the entire day because there's just so much.
Fabulous. And during our conversation, you mentioned that you also travel solo.
Yes.
As a solo woman traveler, what are the things in mind one should keep?
But as a solo traveler, the few of the things you have to keep in mind is, yes, safety is very big, right? And it's not for traveling abroad. I mean, look at India. How safe is India to travel as a solo traveler, right? So a very important thing is, if you are traveling solo, always share your itinerary with someone in your family. If your parents are the kinds who will freak out that you're traveling solo, maybe with your sibling or with your best friend, but back home, ensure somebody has your entire day-to-day itinerary where you're going to be. Now, given the advent of technology, you can always share your live location. So
Hmm.
always keep your location live location on and share it with the person who should know at all times where you are. Ensure you stay in hotels which are pretty much central. So you're not in isolated areas. Hostels are great for solo travelers because you get to meet a lot of friends, like-minded people, and you have people across age groups over there. And when you're living in a hostel, of course, you can stay in a private room. You don't need to really stay in a dorm. But you also get to know where to travel, where to go. You get to party together at night. So hostel is a great, great thing that's there for travelers who are going solo. And you have to be very careful with your bags, because I have been robbed once in Spain, in Madrid, and it was a terrible experience because my passport and all my currency and everything was there in that bag. So be very, very careful, because especially in Europe, a lot of people, I mean, their eyes are only on solo travelers, because you won't even get to know when things from your bag have just vanished. So you have to be very, very careful. Make sure you have the right kind of bag, not carry very fancy stuff. You don't want to carry your luxury bags and stuff when you're traveling solo. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. But I think safety is the most important thing.
So, as a solo woman traveler, you've been to so many countries. Tell me, which was that one country where you felt the safest?
I would say Peru in South America. And why I mentioned South America is because I went for a 45 days trip to South America, and a lot of people had really scared me. They were like, Argentina is really unsafe and Brazil is so unsafe, and how are you going there solo? But I feel that media really paints a very dark picture of countries, but when you actually go there and mix with locals, you realize how good they are. Of course, you have to be safe and not venture into the notorious neighborhoods. Like I said, even in India, there are so many places that you would not want to go there despite living here, right? So you just have to know. One very important tip as a solo traveler, which I forgot to mention, is talk to locals. Talk to everyone around you. It could be your Uber driver. It could be your passenger sitting next to you in the flight. It could be your Airbnb host. It could be a waiter serving your table. But talk to every local possible, because the kind of insights they will give you, nobody else, even if you Google, you will not find that information about where to go, which is a safe place, where to stay. They are the best people to guide you. So yeah, I think Peru was one place which was absolutely fascinating. At the same time, I felt really safe despite it being South America.
Now, tell us, which is a place where you felt unsafe and you would think twice before going there again?
To a lot of places that I've been to, I've had good experiences and bad experiences. And I feel the moment you have a bad experience, it just ruins your trip, right? So while I was just mentioning that I got robbed in Spain, so doesn't mean I will not go to Spain again, but this happened in Madrid in Spain. And just the fact that I got robbed and I went through such a traumatic time there, it was a big, big trauma, because I was traveling solo and everything was taken away. Thankfully, I got it back. But that somehow just scarred me in terms of traveling to Spain. So the moment I think of Spain, it's just this experience. So I did feel unsafe there. Like after that experience, when I would have to get into any public transport, I would feel very unsafe. And I think this is true for all cities in Europe. While Europe is a great destination, like I myself have been to pretty much all countries in Europe, and I would love to go again. But you have to be very careful, be it Paris, be it Austria, be it in Spain or any other place. You just have to ensure that your bag is in the front when you're boarding a train and not behind you, and your bag is zipped well. It's not one of those flap bags, that flap open bags that we have. So these are a few things that you have to keep in mind. And again, I would say in Argentina, just because I think this was, again, I was biased because people had told me Argentina is so unsafe. And at one time, I was taking an Uber to the airport, and it was a late night flight. So I was really scared, and I did feel unsafe that, okay, I'm going alone with the Uber driver. But luckily, it was daytime in India. So all throughout the ride, I was talking to my husband.
Okay.
So, and I remember for some reason, the Uber driver asked me to sit in the front and not behind. So probably he said that because of some issue he had with his license. He didn't want to get caught or whatever. He asked me to sit in the front. So I was in half a mind to cancel my Uber trip, but I didn't, because I was getting late for my flight, and it was at around 1 a.m. So yeah, so these are the two times that I've literally felt unsafe while I was traveling. But like I said, it's not Argentina per se. It could have happened in any country. But it's all about you taking precautions and being smart.
So now let's talk about your experience and journey as a travel content creator. I'm going to ask a very, very direct question. Sure. Tell me, how does travel content creation works financially? How do you fund it? Is it easy? Is it difficult? Is it monetarily fulfilling?
So when I quit my job as a chief marketing officer, of course, that was far more stable. I mean, let's be very honest. Of course, I'm not making as much money as I was making then. As a content creator, there are a few months we make money and there are a few months we don't make money. So it all depends on the season, if it's Diwali, if it's Christmas and stuff, if it's Children's Day. Of course, we make lots of money because you collaborate with all the brands. But again, there are months where you don't make money. So my advice to everybody would be, if you are planning to quit your full-time job, firstly, you have to ensure you have enough savings. You have to have enough savings to sustain. You cannot just leave your job and think that, oh, I'm going to become a content creator, I'm going to make lots of money. It does not work like that. Have your savings in place. Plan your life well. Give yourself some time. You tell yourself that, like, for example, I told myself, I'll give myself 2 years. If in 2 years, Travel Chatter is not able to make any money, if I don't have a revenue model, then it's not a profession. It's just a passion. It's just a hobby. I do have to go back to my corporate job if I really want to.
You were brave enough to make that choice. But what would you tell someone who wants to follow their passion for travel, but they feel held back because of the responsibilities?
Well, I would say start small. A lot of people come and ask me this, that, I love traveling, but I don't have the money to travel. How do I travel, right? Responsibility is there, but also finance is a big thing. So I would say, start small. So for example, we live in Bombay. Do you think you and I have both seen every part of Bombay? We haven't. There's so much of Mumbai that we still haven't seen. So explore your own city. If you love traveling, start with your own city. Start with weekend getaways. Start with things that are around your city. You will be amazed to know how much of forget the country, I'm saying how much of your own city you don't know about. And then again, there's so much to see in the country. It doesn't always have to be an exotic destination abroad, So if you love traveling, you can travel anywhere. So that's definitely one thing. But in terms of responsibilities, I think you have to learn to prioritize yourself. Because in Indian society specifically, unfortunately, when you're living with your in-laws and stuff, there are a lot of people who will tell you, "Arey, bacche ko chhod ke kaise ja rahe ho?" And your kid is all so young and you're leaving the kid and going. There will be people trying to shame you. In Indian society, that is bound to happen. You have to figure out, like I said, develop that thick skin. And, like I said, you have just one life and live it right. You do you. You have to figure out how to just shut off that noise and follow your dreams. That's the only way.
I love that you mentioned responsibility, but also money.
Yeah.
And you also give the solution that if you do not have the monetary means yet, you can explore your own city,
right,
and start over there. Now tell us, in all these years, I'm sure you must have discovered certain budget-friendly tools or budget-friendly apps which can make travel more economical.
Right.
So share those with us.
A lot of them. Okay, few tips would be in terms of your travel expenses. So when you plan a trip, you have a certain budget. Could be 3 lakhs, okay, for a maybe 10-day trip. Now, the biggest expense always are the air tickets. The air tickets are something that you don't have control on. Everything else under your control. You decide based on your budget whether you want to stay in a hotel, a hostel, or an Airbnb, based on the money that you decide to spend. Sightseeing is under your control, what you want to see, what you can afford to see. But tickets are the only thing you don't have control on, right? So you have to get that out first. So for example, if it's say a year like 2025, in the month of January, I know exactly where I'm traveling, which month for the rest of the year. And most of my tickets are already booked. So the earlier you book, so I usually book my tickets 3 to 4 months in advance. But the earlier you book your tickets, you get a good discount. So ensure you get that out of the way, the first thing. Now there are a lot of apps. So I use Orbitz, that's Expedia, or I use Kayak. I think Kayak is also a very good app in terms of booking tickets. Now, I recently did a reel on this where in terms of saving money, you need to be at times flexible in terms of where you want to travel. So there are times where, okay, I know I want to travel somewhere in March, but I haven't decided where. So you fix the month March, and the Kayak app has an option where you hit anywhere. So it'll show you ticket prices in March all across the world from Mumbai. Now, based on your budget, you choose which country you want to go to. So being flexible when you want to travel will help you save a lot of money. So don't be hellbent ki mujhe Budapest hi jana hai, March mein jana hai aur jana hi hai. Then you will have to pay that price for Budapest in March, especially if there's a festival, it will be expensive. So be open in terms of your location, and then you can make things work. Another tip would be go during off season. So obviously peak season, like for example, if you want to travel in December, it's obviously going to be very expensive. Go during off season. So I went to South America in May, which is off season. Okay. And things were much cheaper. Otherwise, tickets to South America are crazy expensive. So figure out the time, the off-season time that again places won't be that crowded. It's not just in terms of tickets, but even sightseeing places won't be that crowded. The lines will not be so long. The queue to go and see various places, the queue will be short. So that also helps a lot. And like I said in terms of stay, figure out whether you want to stay in an Airbnb or a hostel. Hostel saves a lot of money if you're traveling solo. And even Airbnbs are great. Airbnb, you can put in the budget, and based on your budget, you can decide which location you want to stay in. Renting a car saves a lot of money, because when you're renting a car, you have the car parked with you for entire 8 days. It's like airport to airport. And you are flexible. You can go wherever you want, whenever you want. And you can also figure out whether certain sightseeing places you go and you feel, okay, it's not as interesting as I thought it was, and you just skip that and go to the next place. So these are a few things that has helped me save a lot of money when it comes to travel.
Thank you for sharing this. It's going to be so helpful for the travel enthusiasts out there.
I hope so.
And you create amazing travel content, Anindita. So
Thank you.
Tell me the content which you create. What do you hope your audience, especially moms, take away from that?
I would say basically just about prioritizing yourself. Like I mentioned earlier, it's about, yes, you need to be happy first before you can make your child happy. And only if you follow your dreams will your child learn to follow their dreams. And your child is learning everything from what you are doing. You are like their mirror, right? So whatever you do, whether you're on the phone very often, whether you're exercising, everything. So you are being watched every second. So if you want your child, you have to be the way you want your child to be. Remember that. And hence you have to prioritize yourself in every aspect of life. And like I said, just one life, live it right.
So this brings us to the end of the conversation, but not to the end of the podcast. I'm going to take this fun conversation to a fun segment, which is called Quick 10 with Zahra. Okay. I'm going to ask you 10 questions and you have to answer them quickly and rapidly.
Okay.
What's your favorite travel destination of all time?
Iceland.
One place you are dying to visit but haven't yet?
Antarctica.
100th country.
Yes.
The best travel snack for your kids?
Makhanas. The healthy one. Of course, in terms of unhealthy, there are lots.
What's your go-to comfort food when you're traveling?
Samosas.
One travel gadget you can't live without?
My phone.
A country with the best food you have ever tasted?
India. Butter chicken and butter naan.
And samosa.
And samosa, yeah.
One tip to survive long-haul flights with kids?
Being very calm and patient.
The one thing you always pack but never use?
Clothes. I end up carrying a lot of clothes which I don't use.
What's the strangest or the most unique dish you have ever eaten while traveling?
Oh, I haven't eaten this, and thank God I haven't. But when I was in Cambodia, I saw a vendor selling fried spiders, scorpion, and frog legs. And there were people next to me who were taking a shot and putting that entire thing in their mouth. Oh my God, that's the craziest thing I'd seen. I can never try it, but that definitely is the craziest food I have ever seen.
If you could pick one country to live in for a year, where would it be and why?
US and New York, because that's my favorite city in the whole world. And after having a child, I think it doesn't get better than that city.
Noted. Perfect. And thank you so much, Anindita. I guess you have awakened the traveler in me.
Yay!
And I guess I'm going to go home and plan my next trip with the kids.
Yes,
I'm going to take all the tips you shared and put it to use.
Thank you so much. Absolutely an honor to be here, and hats off to you for creating this podcast and ensuring people out there get all the information.
I really appreciate all the tips you have given and appreciate your time as well.